Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup. It is the season finale here in Belgium, and we are at the Zolder circuit for what should be an absolutely fantastic night's worth of racing. I'm Matthew Duffin, joined in the commentary box tonight by Adam Reed, who is going to be bringing us the action together for this fantastic season finale. It's been a great season of Porsche Cup action here, and we end it at one of probably Belgium's second most famous race circuit. Zolder is our destination. Adam, good evening. Welcome to the comms box for tonight. It's going to be a cracking night's worth of action.
It truly is. Of course, Zolder is a very, very difficult circuit. Of course, so many different parts of the circuit. You have to really break this circuit down in order to get success around it. And it's going to prove to be a challenge for our driver to negotiate this very tricky circuit. Almost 4 kilometers in length. So many different, of course, elevation zones, different types of challenges as well. And I'm sure this was going to be an absolute corker here in Zandvoort.
It is going to be a fantastic race tonight, that is for sure, in what is going to be the heat and then the feature race coming your way in a few moments' time. We are currently, though, coming towards the end of our practice session in which Aaron Babber, who's been pretty much the guy to talk about all season, leads the way once again, but only just under 0.2 of a second he has his gap down to. And many a name that are all up there in our pro category. Bit of a shorter grid for tonight, but the championship standings are as follows. Erin Babber ahead of Felix Votter by some 30 points, with Jenti Van Thielen third place. Christoph Herbino is P4, Philip Hammer fifth, Vince Peters from Corey Lazarus, Maiko Van Luck, Luke Andrews and Matthew Collin rounding out the top 10 in the pro category. In the overall standing, should I say. And here is Felix Votter, currently fifth place on the track. He's some 0.8 off the back of Erin Barber. But practice, Adam, doesn't necessarily tell the true tale, does it? Because everybody may be out there or may have set their fastest that time on a different sort of fuel load.
Absolutely, there's so many different variations and dynamics you can go into for this practice session. I think, of course, if you are a championship contender, you don't want to be showing your cards too much. You really want to be keeping them close to your chest. and really spreading them out all throughout to qualify, and then of course the 2 races you have ahead of us. Really intrigued to see how this is going to go for a lot of our drivers. Of course, Felix Volta, very experienced in the Porsche Cup cars. I'm sure he's going to be putting on an absolute superb performance. The German driver really working the wheel in this practice session. Of course, still sitting behind in this championship. He's really going to have to look for some decent results, and of course, with being a championship contender, you have to be on your A game running into this event. It's an absolutely pivotal round, one that can really decide a victory and defeat.
It can indeed, and while we are in the practice session, we just want to give a shout out to Thomas Smets, a journalist from Autosport, who makes a nice summary of each race. We got told to give him a shout out tonight. So Thomas, good evening. Hope you're enjoying the season, the championship, and hope you enjoy some of Zolder's action tonight, as well as a little look into the future here of the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup. The rebrand for next season will be taking place, and it will be rebranded to PACE, Precision Automobile Club Esports. The reason behind the change is that the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup Series is growing in ambition, community, and in the scope of things in size, and they're just having a bit of a rebrand for that next season, which kicks off around about, we believe, the September mark. Dates yet to be confirmed, but the calendar, we was told we can give you a little insight to the calendar. There is Spa, Imola, Hockenheim, the Nürburgring, Road Atlanta and Zolder. Again, we're looking again around that September mark for next season's calendar, but also that's coming is 4 sessions of group coaching program led by the Elite League drivers. And this is all to sort of help the AM drivers, if you will, come on a little bit. The coaching schedule will take place the 2nd of June, 9th of June, 16th of June and the 23rd of June, all by different drivers of that Pro Elite standard, just to help everybody else. 4 sessions, 4 evenings, €40 total, and a maximum of 12 participants. So it's going to be interesting to see how these Pro-Ams and AM drivers maybe come on leaps and bounds by listening to the front runners in this championship standings, Adam. It's always nice to see those guys at the front of the grid just offering a hand to those down towards the back in the AM category, just to sort of bring them on a little bit, making more challenges into the next series.
It absolutely is. As you mentioned, there are so many different, of course, so many offers going on, and it's absolutely brilliant to see a lot of these maybe more experienced and young sim racers are going to get involved in. I'm really interested to see how that is going to come apart, and to be part of the Porsche Cup broadcast is absolutely amazing, and I'm really looking forward to this kind of this broadcast. Of course, the racing is always so brilliant, and really intrigued to see how we're going to get on. Of course, the drivers really trying to keep themselves at this moment in time, really trying to work away from the traffic, as you will have to do during the race, a couple of off-road moments, but they're still just testing the limits. Of course, you know, you can't go around a circuit and not test the limits, otherwise you're going to be very much towards the back of the field. Some of those those elite sim racers are really going to be testing those all throughout the circuit, really pushing them throughout the next 3 sessions that we have lined up.
I mean, Aaron Barber is your man who leads away. This is Christoph Herbino, though, at the moment, just coming towards the middle sector of the lap here at Zolder. As you come up towards the hairpin, that's a big slide from the car in front, bouncing off the wall. Vince Peters there, the Williams Esports Academy driver, and that was Verstraeten who was off and into the wall. So easy to do in these Porsche Cup cars. The rear end is what you've got to try and tackle and master, because the lack of traction control coming out these corners, it can hurt you in these cars. They are such an animal to contain.
They really are. Of course, rear wheel drive, they're going to be spinning up the tyres, especially during the start phase. They're going to be so difficult to try and control. Of course, with all the horsepower, I think over 500 horsepower they have got with these cars, and so much torque as well. It's really going to be a challenge for a lot of our drivers, but over the course of time, you will get used to it. You will really feel the car underneath you, and every single time you turn a lap around a different circuit, you are just going to get more and more used. And by the time you've got to the end of a season, you would have either felt a little bit more experienced, or you're going to feel quite together with your Porsche Cup car.
Yeah, indeed you will, and we've got a few comments in the chat. Van Look for Champion says Xander. Good evening to Jamal Clouden, Nick Debeck, as well as WE Motorsport Inside, and Simplay Motorsport as well, all saying good evening in the chat. So welcome all to tonight's broadcast. It's going to be an absolute fantastic show. We have got just the back end of practice coming up now. There is some just under 2 minutes left of this. This is Van Look at the moment. Currently 8th place, but obviously the Pro-Am driver, second in that Pro-Am category, and only just under a 10th off the back of Luke Andrews, who, if you was tuning into the Apex TV channel last night, you would have noticed that Luke Andrews, Felix Votter and a few other names out there on the grid was all in the Porsche Cup around Sebring, and they're back here to take on yet another race of this Porsche Cup car. And a bit of a smaller grid than what we saw last week as another spinner coming through the first chicane. And just what Adam was saying there about how difficult these cars are, that was James Slate who had the big moment. For a lot of these drivers though, James, looking at the timing tower in front of us, a lot of Belgian drivers on the grid, so home circuit really for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it kind of depends on where they're located. Some may be in Brussels, some may be more towards the south, some may be maybe a 30-minute while away from Zolder. Who knows? Of course, Spa being the other big circuit, some may be quite local to there. But you can see we've got an array of nationality. We've got Andrews and Tyler there from the United Kingdom, and we've got Strand from Norway, as well as Petra from Finland. So a couple of our Scandinavians with Michu Machado from France. So yeah, a wide range as well. It's a couple of, let's not forget those either.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see such a wide range of nationality out there on the track, as well as obviously 3 different categories. The yellow marker next to the driver's names signifies them of Pro, the green marker is Pro-Am, and that little grey marker next to the positions on the timing tower signify that they are of the Am class. As you can see there, that is what you need iRating wise for each category. So it is 8.3k for Pro, it is 3,800 iRating for Pro-Am, and it is 2,300 for Am. So that is the different variations of what we have on the grid, and obviously it's points per category, not overall. It is all about that category. So as always in multi-tier racing, obviously not multi-class but multi-tier racing, Adam, you always find that if you're a Pro-Am or an Am driver, just mixing it up there with the top guys can always provide some interesting battles when you're not really fighting each other for points, but you're fighting each other for track position.
Yeah, absolutely. I think positions are going to be the main thing they're battling with. So it's kind of when you get into those fights, you kind of being more aware of who you're battling. Of course, you won't really. It won't really come to your mind if they're a Pro or maybe an Am, unless you really know them very well and you know they're famed for being a fast driver or a little bit of a learner in your mind. Then, of course, battles will very much come as they go. You know, pros definitely be battling each other very, very hard with the elites of very much know themselves, but when you're in as you say multi-tier, they're going to pay a little bit more careful as well. Maybe give them a little bit more space. But when you've got the maybe the higher ups and the elites, they're going to go to door to door. They're going to leave absolutely nothing on the table. They may have to be raced very, very hard in order to be kind of put off of their driving around the circuit. And around Zolder, you really don't want to be put off. It's a very, very technical circuit. We see there Philip Hammer in the number 60.
It is indeed, and like you said, very technical circuit. You've got to make sure precision is the key tonight. Some of these corners will catch out. More on the middle chicane in the middle sector, the second of 3 chicanes. It has a dip just coming through the left-hand bend of it. Very easy to catch a driver out as they head up and through that middle chicane. But over the start line comes Philip Hammer now, the Pro driver. Erin Barber was also out there on a lap we saw a few moments ago as they come through turn 1. And each sector around this circuit, Adam, so different. This first sector, the corners kind of at like medium speed corners before you head into that middle sector, chicane followed by another chicane and into a hairpin as well. It's all different throughout each sector.
Really, really is. You've seen that kind of first sector we now right on board with Jens Biersort as he heads his way through. It's quite a wide section and really looped up on itself through that first section. Very, very wide, very, very medium speed. Someone off into the gravel. But now, let's have a look at this second bit where you jump over a chicane, couple of cars off, try and avoid those cars heading back onto the circuit. But now it starts to really narrow up, and I think we've backed off. The number 21 Porsche heads into that very, very tricky chicane. Was implemented around about the mid 80s. For sure, it's going to be a very, very tricky one. Potential overtaking opportunity. But now you've seen, let's go into the third sector, in toward the hairpin. You know, there's been so many cars that you kind of asking your eyes left and right, seeing if there's any danger. You see that one of the cars are moving away, but it's still very narrow. To really pick your spots here, down in towards the final braking point, in towards the left, in towards the right, using all the steering that you possibly can, keep it nice and smooth, and then use all the exit on the left hand side out the last corner, and you run it to the line with Jens Beersort.
You do indeed. It's a pretty short lap here, only 1 minute 1 minute 30 so far from Van Tielen, who's taken that pole position, or provisional pole position at the moment, from Felix Votter. Luke Andrews in the Pro-Am currently sat P3 ahead of Erin Barber. And here is Beersort at the moment, back in towards now turns 2 and 3. So pretty short lap, pretty quick lap around here. And it was interesting to see there that while he was talking us through, there was 3 or 4 cars just sort of squabbling for track position as we hop a wheelie there with Van Tielen over the big curve. That second part of that first chicane is quite raised, so if cars are really aggressive with it, you will see a bit of that hop, skip and a jump over it, because it is rather raised at that first part, and that might be where we see some drivers have a bit of an off track or have moments landing that car where the car will get a bit wiggly. Some gravel on the circuit there as drivers have been off wide in towards the hairpin now for Van Tielen, your current provisional pole sitter. And in this qualifying session, we're only 4.5 minutes through so far, but towards the line there is Erin Barber, who will be the next man to set a lap time. And out of so many drivers on the grid, we are yet to see all of them set a flying lap time. Here comes Erin Barber though. What will he be able to do? Your championship leader overall comes towards the line, needs to find 0.4 of a second, finds 0.9 of a second, and makes the gap half a second back to Van Tielen, who improved within 0.04 of a second, as did Votter and Hammer, but aren't really on the back of Barber yet. So Erin Barber there, just giving himself that extra sort of lap, got a banker in, and then made sure he nailed his second.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's been some really good stuff so far with Erin Barber. To say championship leader, he really needs to get a move on, and the track continues to really rubber in. It's kind of a fresh circuit going into that qualifying session. Down to 129.5 there for our championship leader in the black and yellow. Number 1 here as he turns away through the left-hander and on towards chicane. Van Tielen there, 45 thousandths of a second behind. Of course, he's got a little battle in the team, his own championship actually. Of course, Van Tielen third in the championship, but he's got Christophe Urbanot, Philip Hammer and Vince Peters to try and hold off. They're all separated by only 15 points. So third down to 6th in the Drivers' Championship, separated by 15 points. There's a lot up at stake, especially. Finished best of the rest behind our 2 championship contenders. And to get that third place, I think is going to be a bit extra special for sure.
Yeah, there really is a lot up for grabs. Here is Vince Peters, a part of the Williams Esports Academy. And great to see Williams backing one of the drivers in the Porsche Cup here tonight. Great to see indeed. He's at P4. He's just under half a second off the back of our pole sitter, and it doesn't look like he's on a fast one at the moment, as Barber just goes a little bit quicker with a 129.343. Votter also improved there, but not enough to move him out of P3. Andrews on an outlap. Steve Clays is on the pit exit. It's George Tyler crosses the line and he stays P6. Van Luck moves up into 10th place as Peters himself there. We saw him just warming up them tyres a little bit. Clearly not on a full push lap and ready to go. There's a car leaving the pit lane right into the path then of 2 drivers just starting a fast lap here. Here is Pelotropa, who is coming through the final chicane. Down towards the start line now. Any improvement on 13th place. Currently in that AM category, 3rd place overall. Towards the line he goes. And there is a small improvement, moves him up to P12 as Van Tielen and Votter, both into the pits. But interesting to see that pit exit there. That's where drivers in this qualifying session could be caught out. As you're starting a fast lap, you've got a driver just coming out to the apex of the corner of turn 2.
It's really good you mentioned that, because of course that's going to be pivotal, especially going into those last 5 minutes, especially where drivers should really be going on their fast lap. Everyone should be out there. It's really good to notice that there's a very much danger when exiting the pit lane. So you've really got to dart your eyes very, very quickly for like a tenth of a second to check and see if no one's coming out the pit lane. I wanted to ask you, Matthew, because of course Zolder's a very, very tight circuit. How important is it going to be to get that track space, to get the room you need to make a lap, and especially avoiding all that traffic around the circuit, knowing there's many, many cars out there?
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. You do need that track space. You do need that bit of a gap. Here is Michaud at the moment coming into the final chicane. He's got a car just in front of him, but I'd say that gap is good enough where, yes, that car could just be a distraction if it has a spin, but it's not going to hamper him on his lap. Also, you could maybe do with one a little bit closer. Slipstream's pretty good in these Porsche Cup cars, so you maybe just want to try and extract a tenth or two around this circuit. Like you say, with it being so technical, if the driver in front makes that mistake, you're putting yourself at risk by running as close to another driver as possible. But this is motor racing. Every driver is going to try and extract at least every tenth or half a second, whatever they can find in their lap. Here is Bassart coming through the final chicane now. Doesn't look like he attacked it very well. More focused on getting a good clean exit to come down to start another lap as he comes across. Now, do we see any improvement from him? Don't think we did, no. So I do believe that is to start a lap. But yeah, I think track position is key, but it's not going to hurt you too much if you are within, I'd say, 1.5 to 1 seconds of another car.
Absolutely. It's going to be so important, especially when you say the slipstream is going to be so important, especially if you can grab it for just a singular straight. That could mean kind of the difference between maybe being fifth and being on on the front row of the grid, or maybe even fifth. So let's have a look. We've got Baba from Van Thielen, from Pieces, from Votter with Hammer, and then there is George Tyler pulling over to one side, and the number 17 just gone and done a 1:30.146 to put himself 8/10 behind Baba. And here is our Pro-Am, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, Luke Andrews in the Pro-Am number 59 as he heads across the line, sponsored by Cube Sims as well. Himself up into 7th there, so you can see that as our graphic comes down, leading Pro-Am. What about our Am is Clays. They're in P8, just in behind. So really good stuff there from Steve Clays in the number 13 Porsche for the Eagle Speed Academy esports team. We've got Engelen and Van Luck running at the top 10. There's some really good stuff so far. Herbino down in P20. I don't know if he's been able to get a lap really in that green and white Porsche. I think he's really struggled to get a lap. I don't know if maybe traffic, or it might be the wrong setup, or something's going on there with Christophe Herbino, and I'd love to know what it is. But he's coming up to the line now. Let's see what's going on here.
He's about to cross the line now, the 92 of Christophe Herbino towards turn when he goes, moves up to P6, and maybe just a bad lap. But that is his 5th attempt of a lap time at the moment. He starts his 5th lap now, so he's had a couple of laps where he's not been able to do anything. Maybe as well, just a point of maybe a few off tracks, as he had a few problems at that first chicane in particular. We've seen already how drivers are sort of bouncing over the curb as they just skip over it. Let's take a look at how Herbino looks at it, takes it here, because it's going to be an interesting one to see if he's just attacking that first chicane a little too hard. And as we said, that second part, look, it is a little bit raised, and there we go. That might be where he's just doing himself a bit of misfortune, because he's really hitting that second curb hard at the first chicane.
He is. You can see how when he hits that second curb, the nose is just going straight up. He's got no front grip on the tyres. He can turn the wheel as much as he wants, but when it's up in the air like that, no, you are getting nothing out of those front tyres, and that's going to put when you're kind of going over that curb, it looks like he was going straight into the tyre wall onto the left hand side, and that's not the direction you want to be going in. I think maybe a bit more of a subtle approach, a bit more of a softer approach. I think hitting those curves are going to be so important. So if he can nail that and then go for a fast lap and do the best he can, do the best line over there. He could put himself potentially, maybe even into the top 3, maybe even lucky himself onto the front row, but maybe that might be a little bit much of a stretch for our number 92 out there. Still Edin Baba out in front with a 129.438.
Yeah, well, Herbino did just improve ever so slightly there, and a very small improvement as well, as Peters moves up into third, or stays third place, sorry, with a 129.5. But it is Erin Barber at the moment, a 129.343, the fastest lap. He did a 4.38, which is pretty consistent when you're looking at his qualifying session. Bearing in mind, the heat is 10 laps. Erin Barber has done 6 of them laps, still got some 7 minutes left, so he really lifts off over the first curb. But on that 7 laps, this could be his race pace at the moment, looking pretty consistent.
It's really looking good, and I wonder if there's going to be any drivers trying to just follow the lines here of Edin Baba, just because we know he's so quick. You know, he's almost 2.5 tenths out in front. So if someone wants to just follow his lines, get a little bit more of a feel of what is the elite driver doing, you can get a little bit more and potentially find a little bit more lap time. You see the whole entire field spread from top to bottom is just over 3 seconds, and of course that is to do with iRacing, that is to do with kind of different speeds and experiences. See Michael Machado there for the French team, or for the French driver there, heading over the line. You'll I believe he is just where is he going to be in those standing? Number 24. I don't think he's on the board at the moment, unless I'm.
No, he is. He's
had a
looking at the timing tower. Sorry, Adam. He has just done his first out lap, and then as a coming together, I believe, was that with Erin Barber? He's just had that bit of a coming together with out of turn 1. So I think he just literally started his first flying lap, and then ends up running a little wide onto the gravel. And as he rejoins straight into the side of Erin Barber, well, if there's one person when you haven't set a lap time, if there's one person you don't want to collect, it's that of the current pole sitter and that of the championship leader. So Machado will have to go again here, and you feel that he's possibly going to be starting from 23rd with us running out of time in qualifying. Dirk Butzo at the moment, what can he do as he comes to the line? 19th overall, 2.5 seconds. Needs some 4 tenths, finds a bit more than that, moves up to 16th place. So great to see. Luke Andrews at the moment, by the way, can we just give him a shout out here? He is mixing it with them pro drivers so far. He's only a couple of tenths of getting up that order even more. Half a second, he'll be on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely will be. It'll be an absolute pleasant surprise to see him up in 7th, especially if he can keep this in control and keep the similar pace in the first race coming up. Perhaps have a barnstormer of a race, I believe. Luke Andrews really doing superbly well. It takes a lot to kind of mix up with the elites, especially as a kind of a pro-am. I really think that he's going to be potentially going up to that elite class in the next maybe half a month or so. Luke Andrews continues to getting ever quicker in that Porsche Cup car and on the sim. Really trying to push for extra lap time out here. He'll cross the line, see if that's maybe an improvement. We'll get a little updating. No improvement on that time around, but still really impressive pace from the Englishman.
Yep, doing really well there. Here's James Slates down in 21st place. He needs half a second. That could move him up 3 places ahead of Colin in 18th. Comes towards the line now, and he moves up even more. Goes up to P60, knocking Boots down to 17th place. Barber and Peters and Herbino all back out on track as Andrews. You just saw the number 7 come up red there. That was a bit of an off track for him, so he may have to go and do one more lap. Machado did not come back out of the pit lane, so he's got to get out pretty soon. Luke Andrews here then, back with the Pro-Am pole sitter at the moment, and he's only just under a tenth quicker than Romano as Colin moves up into P10 overall. That's third in Pro-Am. Matthew Colin there moving up the order. Verstraeten moves up to 17th overall as well. So he improves on a lap time, and we will be looking at next. Herbino's coming towards the line. That is on his out lap though, so he'll be getting ready to go for one more. But Matthew Collin, P10 overall at the moment, needs a couple of tenths to find Romano, 3 tenths to get ahead of Andrews and be on that pole for the Pro-Am grid. But Felix Votter, P4 at the moment, just under half a second off the pole. That's a lot of time to make up, and not a lot of time left in qualifying to do it.
Absolutely, but it can really depend on where it is as a circuit, because it could be maybe in the medium speed corners where you just got to carry a little bit more speed, use some of those corners, really use the exit curves. Or it could be in a really slow part where you just need to maybe get the throttle down, and you could gain maybe 2, maybe even 3 tenths. There goes Engelen into P11. Joran Engelen for the Belgian, the number 31 there. Beautiful livery as well, putting it up into P11. Really good stuff there, and really starting to get a great feel around this Zolder circuit, putting it just shy of Erin Baba in P1 and B of the top 10. You know, he's only what is that, 5 thousandths off Colin there for the top 10. So really good stuff there from England, and he could be a potential on for a really good result in these next 2 races.
He could be indeed. The M driver, like they're mixing it into P11. Here is Jens Versart, who is coming down fourth place in that Pro-Am, 12th place overall at the moment. Just needs to find a couple of hundredths really to get himself back ahead of Colin to move on to the top 3 of qualifying at the minute. He will get one more lap on the board if he gets enough time to go again. Stays as close to the inside pit wall, which tells me he's probably done. Doesn't improve as Barber's on the pit exit. I don't think Barber's got enough time to get a lap in here. Matt Strand now P16, and he'll also no, he does carry on his race. Sorry, as Matt Strand now comes towards the line out the final chicane. Will he get one more run in? Yes, he will. As Barber again on pit exit, it's saying there. And for Strand, well, let's see what happens to him. He's not moved up the timing tower, and Barber back in the pit. So not sure what Barber's doing at the moment, but he definitely hasn't got time for one more lap, because drivers who are coming around now to finish their laps will get one more run. Here comes Vince Peters, P3 at the moment, just needs 2 and a bit tenths to put himself on the front row of the grid. Van Thielen and Barber both in the pits. Votter also in the pits. Cannot get another lap in. Has Peters got enough fuel for one more run? To the line he comes. Any improvement on that time? Or was that an outlap? I believe it may have been an outlap, because there's no improvement. No time has popped up. So Peters going for one last run. And Zolder's the kind of circuit, Adam, that with it being so technical, it's easy to have lost that 2 and a bit tenths just on one corner.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a situation where if you do have a little bit of a slide, you can lose a couple tenths as well. You really just need to keep the car in line, keep it really steady, have a nice setup underneath you, and that is qualifying done here at Zolder. A brilliant qualifying session, may I add, in the around here in the Belgian countryside. Really excited to see how this is going to turn out. And there is going to be Erin Baba to line up on pole position ahead of Jenti Van Thielen, ahead of Vince Peters there in P3, Felix Votter, the German in P4, Philip Hammer, his fellow countryman, is going to be in P5 with Christopher Urbino. Of course, very much struggled in the early stages, managed to get into 6th place by the end with Luke Andrews mixing up with the top guys there in P7. George Tyler, his fellow countryman, will be alongside him. Luis Romano will be Romano in P9 there, ahead of Matthew Collin in P10 with Joran Engelen and Jens Biersot at the top 12 there. 13th we had Maiko Van Luke in 13th with Steve Clays. The 2 Belgians will line up on the next row of the grid. Then we come to Van Roo de Boever, Strand, Jelle Verstraeten and James Slates. Dirk Boots and Ryan Walker, the Scotsman, will line up in 20th. Yannick Pelotera and Florence Michaud in 22nd, with Michael Machado and running off the grid in 23rd. Many butcherings going on in that one. But away from the butcherings, let's go to the grid, because we have got the first race coming up here at Zolder.
Yep, the first heat of the 2 races, the final 2 races of this season. And don't worry, butcherings is all a part of being a commentator. As we get ready for this first race, I believe 10 laps for this first race of the evening before we head into then the little mid-break session, and then we get ready for the feature race of what will be the final running of season number 2 as we get ready to look and move forward into Season 3. The lights come on the screen now, and for the first time it's green and go here, and it's a decent start from Erin Barber there. It looks like nobody was lining up on the front row of the grid with him as he manages to come across and cover Peters. Votter's lost out to Hammer already as Peters and Van Tielen managing to get through. It looks like the pack has got away pretty cleanly through turn 1 and into 2 they go. Votter now leaning on the inside of that of Hammer as they come through in towards 3. This is the section now where it's going to be setting up to pick your braking zone in towards that first chicane as they come into 4. This could be all crucial for those who are side by side, still coming through this corner now. Look in the background, there's plenty of cars together side by side. They come down towards the first chicane, pick your braking zone, make sure you've got the moves done or backed out of it, because this is very, very tight and tricky to get through. And everybody there, as that looked like it was Herman who had a bit of a wiggle, there's a bit of contact and even more in the background, and that is drivers round. And Jan, one of them drivers, as is Joran Engelen, who had such a decent qualifying, he's dropped right down to the back of the pack in 23rd. And there is Florent Michard, who has also had an off. That is coming towards the second chicane. And already dramas happening as we predicted at that first chicane.
Absolutely, yeah. Really unfortunate there for some drivers who got caught up in a little bit of contact. But yeah, so much carnage happening. That's what you expect there. The opening lap here in Zolder, so many cars amongst the circuit in a confinement of space. There goes Matthew Collin, who's going to come into the pit lane. So I wonder if he's got a penalty serve or he's going to come in for a damage repair.
I don't see him in any dramas there, so I'm wondering if that is a drive-through penalty, potential jump start there. We'll keep our eyes on if that one stops or not in the box. But this is Matt Strand at the moment, the Norwegian driver, just fending off that of Van Luck. And this is currently for 4th place in class, 12th place overall. But Barber, Peters, Van Tielen, Votter, Hammer, your top 5 as they go. And I'm not seeing Matthew Collins stop in the box, so that must be the drive-through penalty. I wonder if he jumped the start, you know, as Pelotrope has then come through to get past him. So Colin down to the back of the pack after a good qualifying as well for Matthew. Colin was right up there, and you've seen a lot of that gravel being kicked up that drivers have brought onto the circuit after being off at turn 1. And Van Tielen now currently your P3 man, just losing out to Peters and coming under a little bit of pressure from Votter behind.
Absolutely, yeah, they're going to really start to have a bit of a tussle there for P2, but I wonder if there is any potential that they're going to try and maybe try and push forward here. Peters has very much tried to disassociate himself with Jari Van Tielen. I think Van Tielen is now going to have to start looking behind the two Germans of Votter and Hammer. Oh, there's a bit of carnage there, down there. That's Matt Strand. Matt Strand, who is starting to build up a little bit towards the edges of the top 10. That's Michael Van Luck as well, who seems to have got involved with Steve Claces as well. I think he's about to go on past the number. That's going to be number 13 there. They cross the line, and it looks like Peters there with the fastest lap of the race, 129.600, 15 thousandths faster than Barber. So he's looking pretty strong there up at the top of the standings. 7 tenths of advantage for our pole sitter, but still looking at the edges and the podium spots here. Or the pro-round, Beersur, followed by Van Luke. That's the 10th and 11th. But looking back to the front, Erin Barber is in control of this race, but for how long?
Indeed he is. We've seen Erin Barber just do this and patiently go about his business to build that gap that Peters, while ever he can stick with him in the slipstream, as that is James Slates, who's gone very, very wide, coming through that of turn 4 down towards the first chicane into the gravel trap. That's lost him a lot of time there, and that's allowed the likes of Dirk Boots and Walker, as Boots misses the first chicane there, ends up cutting across it. That could allow Slates back in, but Barber has done this all season where he's just slowly gapped them, and if you're not able to keep with him in that slipstream, it will be game over soon and swift, because Barber will not wait around for you. He is absolutely a man on a mission. Dirk Boots now, after cutting that first chicane, coming under pressure from Slates, who was wide at turn 4 as they head down towards their hairpin. Slates not close enough yet to make that move in towards that hairpin corner. Colin, by the way, already gaining on the back of a couple of the back runners in this grid. He's just got to try and damage limitations in this race, and there we go. Barber already gaining 3 tenths on this lap. So Barber just now starting to put that foot down a little bit and just pull away a little bit more in this race. It's Van Tielen who's managing to just gap Votter a little bit. Votter hasn't got the pace to go with him, and the top 4, 5, 6 are all spread out nice and evenly. And I'll tell you who's in the best position at the moment. That is Andrew, sitting in P7. He is absolutely flying at the moment, and he's well ahead of that of P9.
Yeah, absolutely. Full praise there to Luke Andrews, really pushing the limits here. And he's keeping himself nice and calm there. They just jump their way over the chicane. That really gets me every single time. I see them leaping off the ground. I'm like, oh my goodness me, they're going to go off track. To just somehow keep it on the road. I don't know how. Kudos to those. George Tyler there, the other Brit, sitting right behind him. So I wonder if the two Brits on the grid can push on forward. They're going to gather some solid points there. But of course, this is the Nine Nations Cup. Their own individual titles. So they're really pushing forward for their own class championships. US Romano just in behind the Belgian, who's hoping to go well on home soil.
He is open to go well on home soil indeed, as Romano now coming down after that of Tyler. Second place in Pro-Am at the moment. He has got Bearsot on the back of him, and that is for second and third in this Pro-Am category. Van Luck not really near them to knock them off the podium. There he is in the background. So at the moment, Romano and Bearsot absolutely doing what they need to do to hang on onto that podium. Kicking up the gravel's not going to be the best thing for Romano. Jens at the moment doing a stellar job. Colin has already moved up to P22, so damage limitation carrying on his way. And here is Herbino as they all kick up a little bit more gravel there through the exit of turn 4 and head down towards the chicane for the fifth time of asking. Halfway through this first race, it's absolutely flown by as they fly over that second part of the chicane. The top 6, you have to say, in this pro category, very, not necessarily evenly matched, but very spaced out, and not allowing them to have a chance really at a fight, is it? Because there's too much distance between each car.
Absolutely, there's still a little bit of gaps here and there. You can see the whole intervals compared to everyone, and they're very much live timings there. They'll be continually flicking around, showing you the live gaps. That's the gaps to our leader, if you want to keep an eye, but I'm sure we'll switch it back to the intervals at some point. But Christoph Herbino just trying to keep with this lead group at this moment in time, just trying to stay with the likes of Votter and Hammer, of course, the two German drivers who have been very, very strong, but just haven't been able to challenge that front group there. Personal best coming in there for the likes of Van Thielen, for the likes of Hammer and Herbino. We now look a bit further down, and the AMs are now starting to battle away here. This is James Slates down in 18th on the back there of Bouts, and he's looking to try and overtake there for 17th place to head their way into turn 1 for the 6th time this race.
Yeah, indeed they are, and Slate's here trying to make up for that earlier mistake he made coming through this section of track. Turn 4 is where he had that little off track as he went a little wide. He's on the back of Slate, can really use that slipstream as he's getting closer. Collins moved up to 21st as well, so he's got past another driver down the order. He's really trying to work his way back up this field to try and score as many points, but Walker will be the next person he'll take points off, and he's some 18 seconds behind him. Slates loses out through turns 3 and 4, gains under the braking into the first chicane, and look at that, not using barely any curve there compared to the drivers at the front, and taking off over the first chicane as down the hill they drop in towards, which I think is probably the trickiest part of this circuit. Both corners here, right and left, dip away from you mid-corner, and it's very easy to just drop the rear by being too greedy on the throttle, but through they come, all manage it nicely. Boots then at the moment just hanging on in there over Slates. That gap's just under 0.3 of a second, and Slates a little deep there. He'd like to have been a bit tighter on the apex of the hairpin, but nothing too bad. James Slate's just putting pressure on Boots here, and it looks like Boots is handling it well.
Yeah, absolutely is. He's withstanding the pressure as he looks to go 4th in the class here. The 4th place for the elites, not for the elites, the amateurs. So he's starting to really push on, because any positions will be good points and positions for him. It may not end in a pot, as they like to say, but it will for sure be extra points, extra brainy points as well. Continue to work their way through the second corner, really trying the different lines, especially through that first section where it really is opened up compared to the rest of the circuit. It really does feel like kind of one line going into sector 2 and sector 3. So you can use a little bit more road here and there, try and maybe close, open up the corner a little bit, maybe try and close it off. Definitely get in the mirror of your opponent behind it. Try and get their eyes darting around, and off goes Dirk Bounce, but he's luckily kept himself on, but he will potentially get a slow down penalty. But will that allow Jamie Sates to try and maybe potentially close up on him and maybe go for an overtake? He's definitely closed up, but he's now just trying to get that overtake. Whereabouts do you do it? It has to be in toward the hairpin, because look at him, he's pushing him all the way through that right-hander, trying to get the exit, and I think James Sates is going to go for the move on the inside, see the gap. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's going to be just about Dirk Bounce, but Bounce very much keeping that shield up high.
Yeah, he has indeed, and Slates, was fully showing his hand, looking to go up the inside, and Bounce was not worried about where he braked into that hairpin. Managed to do it. Votta was sliding on the exit of turn 1. There you see a lot of dirt on this circuit offline, where drivers have been running off the track, are bringing some of the gravel and grass back onto it. So it's a very dirty track through this first sector, and drivers just managing to slide through these corners and make sure they keep on the circuit. It's Baba, Peters, Van Thielen, Votta, Hammer, Herberto, your top 5. Andrews really well in P7 at the moment. And Collins got past another driver down in 20th place. Now moving through the field is his Van Look on the back of Bissart for that podium spot. 3rd place in Pro-Am this will be for. As he comes up and over the brow of the hill, lap 8 of 10. Looks to the inside line, down in towards the second chicane. Does he have a nose up the inside? Bissart a little wiggly there under the braking, squirreling around on the rear, but manages to get it stopped and turned in. And we are as we were before they exited the first chicane there then. So as we stand, Van Look may have had just a bit of a slowdown somewhere, because he's dropped right off the back of Bissart.
Absolutely, Van Look. I thought he was going to go for that move down in towards the chicane, but of course he knows better than I do, because he has a lot more iRacing experience than I do. We've got a spinner there, and that's going to be Matt Strand. Don't reverse. Oh, that was so close there. Strand decided to go into reverse until
another one.
That's another one, yeah. James Slade, who was looking to go up the inside of Dirk Bout, and of course that looks to have ended in catastrophe for 2 different cars down at the hairpin. We're about to get a replay here. It looks like Matt Strand very wide there, dirt on the tyres, and I wonder if he's gonna maybe lock the rears. Yeah, and the rear just goes around on him. That's one of those. You just look at it, and it's just such an ugly spin. There you can see now. We look at James Sates, and it's just a simple. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They almost synchronized spinning in that case.
Wondering if there's just a bit too much gravel offline or online a little bit down towards the braking zone there. We said about Bissart just squirrely under braking in towards that second chicane. Well, them two there have just lost the rear, and I'm struggling to see how or why. Maybe a little bit too much throttle early. Like you said a moment ago, they're the drivers. We do this in the commentary box. They're going to know a lot more what they did wrong compared to what we do. But here is Baba, who's going to come round to take the white flag here in this first race. He's been absolutely fantastic. Not put a foot wrong. And he's not flown away with this race, but he's gradually just opened up that gap. Erin Baba here, just now taking the white flag, starting the final lap of this race, as he pulls away a little bit more from Peters and then Van Thielen, who actually sets his personal best lap of the race, was Van Thielen. And that'll be too little too late for him in this first one. Colin now still in P20, but could have a chance of getting closer to that of Slates as we go. Bissart has still got Van Look on the back of him here. This is for P3 in the Pro-Am category. As Van Look looking to the outside of turn 2, the long way round. He'll have that outside line then for 3, which is now. And he's going to again have that outside for turn 4, because it's a bunch of right-handers here. But if he can keep it on the outside of turn 4, as he slides that rear end through to look for the up and under, can't do so there. And he's now just sat waiting in the wings as we come down towards 5 and 6 of the first chicane. Again being forced to go to the outside. It is doable. Very tricky though, as Bissart's up and over the curb, being off the floor. That couldn't give Van Look the bit of momentum he needed up and over the brow of the hill. Not so at the moment. Pulls out that inside line again. Later on the brakes, no, not this time around. And Van Look so far well, he's got to look for an opportunity to open up, because at the minute he's just not able to find one. Maybe the hairpin is his best opportunity here then, as they come through for the final time in this first race of the evening. Is he going to look and think of a send it up the inside? No, he's not. And that is possibly all she wrote for Van Luke in this one. But for Aaron Barber, he weaves across the line. It is a dominant race 1 win from Peters, Van Tielen, Votter, and then Hammer P5, Urbano P6. Andrews is going to cross the line for the race win, is what has happened in the final chicane. Van Luke gets the job done at the final chicane and manages to take home P3 in that Pro-Am class. Hopefully we get a replay of that one. Here we go. It was all drama. Out of the hairpin. Possibly not going to happen. Was there any contact here? Looks to the inside. Beersart then. Oh, he's made the mistake on his own. He's gone deep.
That's really, really unfortunate there. So Jens Beersart, unfortunately, he saw the car behind just looking around. He was distracted in the mirrors. He would have seen an indicator, probably would have got something potentially from his spotter. And with all that distraction, was just allowed him to miss his braking point by about 10-20 meters. And unfortunately for him, goes straight off the road, and Van Luke goes on through to take the final spot in the top 10. But it is Erin Baba who takes a brilliant win here in Zolder, the first for him. And of course he'll go into a second race and very much be wanting to take a second, but I wonder how difficult that will be. He'll be joined by, of course, Vince Peters and Jenti Van Tielen on the podium as well in our overall and elite class. And what a superb race there, Matthew.
Indeed it was. And if I remember correctly, the top 8 or 10 are reversed for that second race, if I remember rightly. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody will hopefully be able to tell us. Erin Barber, though, your race winner from Vince Peters. Jentil Van Tielen, P3 from Felix Votter. Philip Hammer, P5 with Christoph Herbino, P6. Luke Andrews, 7th place and race winner in Pro-Am. George Tyler, P8. Lewis Romano, P9. And 2nd place in Pro-Am from Van Luke, P10. And 3rd place in Pro-Am. Steve Clays was 12th. He was your Am race winner from De Boven and Verstraeten. 2nd and 3rd, Ryan Walker, England, Boots and Strand rounding out the top 18. And then we've got that of Colin, Michard, Pelatrapia and Machado bringing up the rear of the grade. It is top 8 who are reversed. And so George Tyler will be on pole, putting Luke Andrews, the Pro-Am driver, on the front row of the grid.
It's going to be absolutely interesting. So there's so much potential for a superb race into the second we go, but Zolder very much showing its challenges. Of course, mistakes can be made if you're not aware. I'm really invested to see how the second race is going to turn out. Of course, we do have a quick warm-up for our drivers to see if they can just iron out some of the mistakes, something they were missing. You can see there one of the cars there on the top right, that's going in towards the pit lane in the final chicane around this circuit. But yeah, really solid stuff for those guys. And of course, there's so much to talk about, especially once we get the grid for the second race.
Yeah, indeed it is. And the second race is going to be an absolute fantastic one. A little bit longer, so a little chance for drivers to maybe make up another spot or two while we are in that little warm-up period. We would like to take thanks to our sponsors of this big shout out to the sponsor of the season, Simwear.eu and Digitrax Sim Centre for sponsoring the season, and to KGL for sponsoring the real life trophies that the drivers will collect at the end of the season. So great to hear to have them partnering us this afternoon and for this entire season. And race 2 is going to provide an absolute fantastic race, I am sure, as we are halfway through that warm-up session. And if you're not seeing anybody out on track, that's because drivers don't have to go out. It is just a little breather for the drivers to get ready for that second race.
Absolutely. It's going to be superbly interesting, of course, to see how it all comes about. I think there's going to be a couple of maybe tactical things going on, especially in terms of driving, because especially going into that we spoke about it in the first race, that second and third section is going to be very much a narrow. They're very much narrowed. There's so many twisty parts of the circuit, and it's going to be so difficult to overtake. I really do think there's going to be something to really keep an eye out for, and I just wonder if this could be a circuit where some of the top guys, once our grid is reversed, could we see a win from our more midfield drivers compared to our top elites? I have to really see. It's kind of a roll on the roll of the dice on this one, and a real test of the skill and courage from our drivers from all up the field.
I think it's going to be fantastic to see what will happen, and I think Andrews could be the man who we keep our eyes on this afternoon, because he could be the one who is going to really have a great chance of taking home at least an overall race win or potential podium overall today. He's been absolutely fantastic thus far here at Zolder in what has been a fantastic season of Porsche Cup driving and action. Like we said, we'll be back with Season 3 later in the year. Dates yet to be confirmed, but it's a stacked calendar, that is for sure. As we get into the final 30 seconds of the warm-up, we get ready to take to the grid very shortly for the final time this season in what will be an absolute blinder here. And Porsche Cup, well, the action hasn't stopped from last night into tonight. It has been all go, and obviously here at Apex Racing TV there'll be plenty more action throughout the week with many more programs, many more Porsche Cup race. I believe there's another Porsche Cup race in a couple of days' time on the Apex Racing TV channel to feast your eyes on, and it will be a belter, no doubt. But warm up done, we're getting ready for the second grid of the afternoon. We'll bring you that grid order the moment we get it.
Absolutely will. In terms of potential winners, I think there's so many. Of course, it does depend if maybe we can get our championship leader or potential championship winner. I think Erin Baba to fly through the field, and there it is. George Tyler will be on pole position ahead of Luke Andrews. It is an all-British front row lockout in Belgium here. Christophe Herbinot, very much a good contender here. Hella Philip Hammer on Felix Zvotter. Jenti Van Tielen will be in P6 ahead of Vince Peters, and Erin Baba P1 in the stand for him. Luis Romano and Maisa Van Luke, who just about took a top 10 finish on the final chicane of the final lap in race 1. And Beersalt, just the falter on that one. He will start in P11, just ahead of Steve Clays. From 13 down onwards, it'll be Navarro Van Boever ahead of Jelly Verstraeten. I'm Walker, the Scotsman, will be in 15th ahead of Joran Gellen. But let's go to the starting lights. Take us away, Matthew.
Indeed we are, and for the final time this season it is green and go here. George Tyler gets a decent start, as does that of Andrews, who's actually pulled in front, but it's Herbinot who's coming down the inside of the pair of them into turn 1. Andrews turns in, greeted by Herbinot. Now to the outside line, Andrews and Herbinot go. Herbinot takes the race lead. Andrews is still there though, not anymore, as Herbinot manages to get in front and chop the nose off. It's Herbinot from Andrews. Hammer got a good start, as did Van Tielen. It was that of, I can't remember who's the driver who's gone backwards. Actually, Tyler, who's dropped down to 5th place. He's side by side with Hammer at the moment. Is Van Tielen, Tyler watching on with a brief at the moment as Votter and Tyler go side by side. Van Tielen and Hammer go side by side in towards turn 1. And Baba probably having the best seat in the house, watching them all go through. Van Tielen way off there, and he's surely going to have to yield a bit of that time as Tyler drops now behind Beersart, who is now 2nd place in that Pro-Am category. Van Luck is still in 3rd place. So great start from them two. Spinner in the background, I believe that is Jens Beersart, who's rolled back onto the circuit and has caused absolute chaos for 4 or 5, maybe even 6 or 7 cars. And Beersart there did not hold the brakes, and that has cost him big time. And Tyler and Beersart both have returned to the pit lane. They are out this race, and Hammer, we didn't see what happened to Tyler, but Hammer is also off. He's down the order as well. What a crazy opener to this lap.
Oh, that's absolute madness. The car's absolutely shrouded all over the place. And that looks like Matt Strand once again getting involved in an incident down at the hairpin there at Boulderberg. Unfortunately for him, he will drop down to 19th. Of course, it's been a a night to forget here for Matt Strand, the Norwegian. I'm sure that he'll be going away rather disappointed after tonight's, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of late night grinds for the following days to come. Philip Hammer now forced there to push out that car. I think that's Van Luke there he's got, but he's just going to hold in place there. Number 60 just in behind. There you go. Baba has now gone ahead there. They head they in towards the chicane. 20 lap race is going to be. So many opportunities.
Yeah, good length of the first race and so many opportunities, like you say, but it's Herbino who is out front. This is what happened to George Tyler then. So coming through the chicane at the beginning, George Tyler was, he was spun around. That was by one of the Pro-Am drivers, not quite sure who it was, backwards into the wall. But Tyler there was spun around into the wall. And that is how we ended up losing George Tyler. Of course, we didn't see that because we was watching the drama unfold. And that was actually the number 16, I think it was. Yes, the number 16 of that of Van Luke, who actually spun around George Tyler into the wall backwards. He went. He's down now in 8th place. Andrews, though, still holding his own in 2nd place. This is James Slates on the grass, having a fight with yet again. In towards the final chicane. Now, Slates manages to get the job done. So what he couldn't do in race 1, he's done it early doors in race 2.
That's going to be a really good move there for James Slates. I think he's going to try and hold that as much as he possibly can. But, it's so difficult, especially knowing you've got a couple of fast guys behind you. I'm going to potentially just try and hold that for the next 17 laps, potentially around here. It's going to be a wild effort if he can do it, but that's maybe too much of an ask. Meanwhile, up in front, Christoph Herbino, just in front of Luke Andrews. And Luke Andrews is not holding off here. That's a really, really good start from Herbino. We saw that he made a very bold overtake off the start line in towards turn 1 to take the lead in towards 2. But Luke Andrews is just, he's not giving this one up. He has just sat there and gone, okay, let me regroup myself and we can go and win this race. It will be an absolute barnstormer if we can get him to win around here. But up against elite drivers, it's going to be so difficult. And already Van Thielen is looking down the barrel at 2nd place here. But a bit of a wide moment there from Herbino. Are we going to replay here? This is from the start here. After 5 red lights, we'll see what Herbino does. The lights go out. There you go. Managed to find a gap there to the left. Unbelievable spatial awareness. Hold that inside line. Grabs the apex there at turn 1. Luke Andrews tried to come back at him, but just wasn't able to. Could have stuck it down the inside, but didn't want to end any races in the early stages, and of course had to break early, and that would have meant that he would have gone down a position, which he has now. There goes Van Thielen up the inside of the Englishman, and it's going to be a Belgian 1-2 here, I believe. The 92 leading the 2-1-4 ahead of the Brits in the number 59.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic from Van Thielen there. It was a great start from Herbino to pick a gap and to manage to use that gap to his full advantage here. But it is now Herbino from Van Thielen, from Andrews, Votter and Peters looking on in the background. Baba's not really in this fight at the moment, but he's not a million miles away. And while either Andrews, who's holding his own, it has to be said, he's doing pretty well. Votter and Andrews actually was hammering at Sebring in the Porsche Cup Series, so they're going at it once again. And Peters at the moment sat waiting in the wings. We have lost Bersot, we have lost Tyler from this race. We're on lap 4 of 20, double the length of race 1. And already it's got that race 3 sort of British touring cars feel to it, hasn't it? Last race of the day, last race of the season, all out carnage on that first lap. We've still got 21 drivers going in this race. And Andrews, don't forget, is your race leader in Pro-Am. His 2nd place rival is Van Luke down in 8th place. So cracking job as Votter now all over the back of Andrews here. No points for overall, it's points per category. And Votter, nice move up the inside. This is the thing for Andrews is, as much as he would love an overall win and an overall podium, he's also got to think smart about class wins. And that's because that's where the points are.
Absolutely, and he's really going to just try and just Audit for now, but when he eventually gets overtaken potentially by Hammer there, he's now going to have to keep with this main pack, and I think he's just going to be using at this moment in time Erin Baba and Philip Hammer just have the shield there to Van Luke, because that is the next opponent he's going to be looking at. They jump their way like a kangaroo over the chicane. He goes and on towards the crest, and there we go. Look at that. That's the battle for the lead there. That's Van Thielen up against Herbino, and Herbino is just going to hold his ground here on this one. The Belgian not wanting to give that position up early. Off onto the grass they go, dipping a wheel onto the left-hand side. This is a battle that's going to rage on for the remainder of the race here, Matt.
Yeah, indeed it is, and so far so good if you are Herbino, who is managing to stay out in front of this race at the moment then. Erin Baba P6 going side by side with that of Andrews as Herbino and Van Thielen going close together at the final chicane, and Herbino is off. That'll possibly give Van Thielen the run down the start-finish straight. Votter could go with him here, you know. Up the inside goes Van Thielen, pulls back across in front of Herbino, and Votter gets him done as well. So Herbino outbreaks himself, loses 2 places, and Baba gets himself ahead of Andrews in the background still, side by side. Is Andrews still at the inside of Erin Baba? No, breaks a little early, and you can just see from Andrews here, bit tentative to fight these pro drivers really, really hard and aggressive, because he just seems to be letting them through a little easy. But that's clever driving. He's got to think of that overall win. With Van Lux just over a second behind him, you have to say Herbino there has kind of threw away the opportunity to fight for a race win.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still potential there. Oh, look at that. That was Philip Hammer there looking up the inside there of Luke Andrews. Andrews is going to hold his own for now. He doesn't need to be giving up that position too early, because look, Van Luke is also approaching the rear of this fight here. He's actually a second and a half behind Luke Andrews with a car between them. Oh, that's James Slate. Oh, James Slate, who's looking so good for a top 12 finish, has lost it over the chicane, and he's going to drop like a stone all the way down to 18th, and that is going to be an ugly look there for James Slate. We'll have a look at a replay, see what happened there to the Belgian driver down into towards the chicane. I wonder if he just lost it on the way in. The car very much unstable onto that second jump. Unfortunately there just lost the rear. I think maybe a bit of steering input going on there that the car just didn't like. Off put the balance, and off he goes.
So easily done, isn't it? We've said that in the qualifying and practice session, how easy it is to do that at that specific part of the circuit. And for Slates, he's had such an up and down day today here at Zolder on his home circuit. It's just been a nightmare end to his season, I say, because he's had pace. He's had good pace today in that AM category to possibly take an AM win or podium at least, but he's just not been able to put it together. Vince Peters now on the back of Herbino, trying to put him under some pressure towards it. Whoa, really taking off was Herbino there. Ran a little wide on the exit. That's allowed Peters to get alongside, to get ahead and move onto the podium. And Herbino is attacking them chicanes. I think a little too much, Adam. He just seems to be under the pressure a little bit, and he's not coping with it very well.
Absolutely, it is very, very difficult to get right. It's sure for the drivers it must feel like a little bit of a game of roulette, which is not the nicest way to put it, but it really must feel like that. You're either going to have a nice way through the chicane, or you're going to have a spin, you're going to go wide. It is such a gamble when the car goes up in the air. You've got no steering underneath you. This is 3 wide in towards the chicane. This is going to get a little bit touchy, bit of contact through there. Michael Mercado there just getting out the way, and unfortunately tapping a car. It looks like the timing having a little bit of a lag there with Van Thielen, but I can assure you Van Thielen is still in the race here. This is Steve Clays and Matt Strand having a tussle and towards the final chicane. A little bit more cleaner than the 3 wide we saw just a moment ago.
Indeed it was, and 3 into, I suppose, 2 with it being a chicane. 3 into 1 definitely doesn't work. 3 into 2 is never going to work there, and Mercado there really losing out down into 20th place. We have got Pelletra Pierre into the pit lane then, so that looks like that is a retirement there for them. In this race, Andrew still holding his own against Hammer, but while Every's trying to do whatever he's doing against Hammer, it's bringing Van Luke onto the back of the pair of them in this race then. So let's see what happens. Colin, by the way, P4 in that Pro-Am category after that disastrous race one where he had the moment of spinning round. He's now up into P4, and Herbino under pressure once more, this time from Erin Barber, makes yet another mistake, and Barber gets through and claims another position. And Herbino has really just cost himself places in this race. It seems like it's been mistake after mistake. Hopefully Samuli can bring us a replay of what happened there to Herbino. But Peter's on the back of Otter, on the back of Vintalen, and this is what happened a moment or two ago, though, through the second chicane. Dips down very easy. You just see him have a little moment on the curb, run a little wide. I assume it's going to be through this section here. Yep, wide onto the grass, pushing too hard. Overdriving the car, I think, is what Herbino's doing tonight. He just hasn't looked great when there's been a car behind him, has he? He's really felt the pressure here, Adam.
Yeah, he has, and he's just seen a car behind him, and every single time he would just crumble under the pressure, and it's been so unfortunate to watch. We know how good Herbino was. Those first 5 laps, I'd say, were absolute magic from the Belgian driver, but it's just crumbled like a cookie here with now Luke Andrews, who's still playing the defensive game. Philip Hammer here down into towards chicane they go. 59 ahead of the 60. Oh, a bit of an awkward jump there for Luke Andrews, still holding his own. He's going to park that right in the middle of the circuit, I presume. Yep, no looking there from Philip Hammer. He's just going to have to stare at that rear wing of the Englishman for a little bit more here, as we now see Van Luke just continuing to gain and gain and gain. He's about just under a second and a half here, maybe even a second here. Oh, I thought Philip Hammer was going to go into the back there of Andrews, but Andrews still very much holding his own.
And it's a tale, really, of two races, isn't it? Race one, the pro drivers at the front was all separated and all, not really anything happening. Now we've got the top four within 2 and a bit seconds of each other, and they are following each other one by one, as you can see on the track map in the top corner of your screen. Votter and Herbino both setting personal best laps, and Votter quicker than the race leader by 0.3 of a second. But this is Philip Hammer on the back of Andrews, and Andrews just pushing his luck a little bit, running a little wide on the exit of a few corners around here. Now leader in that Pro-Am category, and this is going to be vital for his race. England, who leads in Am, is currently sat P10. It's a great drive from him in this one at the moment, as Colin is on the back of Boots here as well. That'll be to try and get him closer to Walker for maybe P4 in this Pro-Am category. As Hammer now has a look. It's not Hammer time just yet, as Andrews really jumps over the curb. Here is Matthew Collin. Disastrous race one. Up the inside of Boots here in race 2. And that is job done after Boots just drops a wheel or two in the gravel. That's cost him a bit of momentum. Not a lot, but enough to allow Colin to get through into the first chicane. There you go once again. And Colin moves up yet, another position here then. But the leaders, 2.3 seconds separates them all. 1.2 separates the top 3. And it is Jentel van Tielen who is your current race leader here at Zolder. Halfway through the race, we're about to start lap 11 of 20 here, as we enter now into the back phase of it and the back phase of the season. Can Van Tielen hang on for a race win? He just seems to be gapping Votter a little bit on this lap, as we lose now Machado from the pits. He's come into the pit lane a couple of laps down as well, so we've lost yet another driver from this race. What a shame. Barber does the fastest lap of the race with a 29.8, and Philip Hammer now decides to pull the trigger up the inside of turn 1, runs a little deep. This is going to allow Andrews to have a look around the outside of 2, and Andrews thinks, maybe I'm not going to fight this, because there is Van Luke in the mirror, who is right on the back of him now for P1 and 2 in this Pro-Am category. And all of a sudden, the end of this race is getting a little spicy.
It is, absolutely, and there's still 3 cars involved in this little tussle, and Michael Van Luke is very much going to have to just hold his own here, just sit back for now and see if he could potentially just take over from a mistake there. He's now got Luke Andrews right in front of him, so of course no pressure, because of course if Andrews is a little bit frustrated with that move, he may go a little bit more on the push side and then be able to waste his tyres away, and then they will fall off, and Luke can then take an advantage. Oh, there's so many different ways he can play it, but that was me. That's how I would play. Just sit back for now, keep on the back of Luke Andrews, and just take the position where a mistake opens up. A little bit of a wipe there from Van Luke. I don't know if that's going to be a distraction tactic or if that's just an accidental press of the button. Anyway, still Van Tielen up at the front, followed by Votter. 1.1 seconds to the advantage there. It's Peters now, as there's a little tussle there between the two. It looks like maybe Felix Votter is going to go through. No, he does not. Vince Peters will hold on to that as Edith Baba sets the fastest lap here of 129.7. So if these guys are not careful, the championship leader is going to go sailing on by.
Yeah, indeed he is there. I think Peters got past Votter at the end of that one, so he actually passed Votter there. Votter was running P2, so Votter ran into trouble at the end of that lap now. Peters moving up the order as Colin does a personal best lap. Nearly takes a second out of Walker's time, so he'll be heading after Walker in that race. And wow, Peters nearly takes off there, as he's not wanting to exit Zolder that quickly just yet. I'm sure he'll want to get to the end of this race. He can head after Van Tielen now, and if we just look at that timing screen, was a little bit quicker, slower than Van Tielen last lap, only by half a tenth. Only by just under a tenth last time around. So the pace is there, but Peters, who's been stuck in traffic all race while Van Tielen can stretch his legs, he's been managed to sort of stay within a tenth or two lap times every lap. So Peters now, bit of clear air, bit of slipstream from Van Tielen. What can he now start to do? Can he make sure that he gets ahead of the Belgian driver at the end of this race? But Van Tielen, since taking the lead of this race, has done nothing wrong. There's a lapped call that was nearly in the way at the final corner, and that could have been disastrous there. And Van Tielen, heart may have been in the mouth as that one unravelled. There now, Felix Votter's had contact, and that is Machado who has made contact with Votter. That has allowed through Erin Barber onto the podium. And you have to say there that the back marker has not helped at all.
No, that hasn't, and that is going to be a very, very frustrated Felix Votter after that. He's going to very much feel hard done by as Erin Baba gets past him now, and they're going to go on the run down in towards chicane. I wonder if Felix Votter will be able to fight that back, and they hop and skip and jump over the chicane, trying to potentially audition for the next Apollo mission. It seems like there. Christopher Herbino also in there, still in 5th place ahead of Philip Hammer and Luke Andrews as well. Wonder how this is going to affect the Pro-Am battle. There goes Hammer, there goes Van Luke. No problems in that one, but look at Van Luke, very much trying to apply as much pressure as you possibly can. Lap 13 of this race, still a little bit of time, so it will be all eyes to the rearview mirrors for Luke Andrews, and I'm sure if the Brit will be very much keeping an eye there. Oh, wide moment there for Van Luke, as the pressure now starts to mount on the number 16 there.
It does indeed, and the number 16, who, remember earlier in this race, had that incident with Tyler, is now trying to put the pressure on Andrews. He has lost a bit of time. Van Tielen now puts in a personal best lap of the race. So what a time to put in a PB, as he's managed to now just gap Peters a little bit more. Peters, though, has a bit of breathing space because of the back marker in the way of Baba and Votter through this one then. But Van Tielen from Peters from Baba is now heading into the final 6 laps of this race. Your order at the moment. And Colin gaining on Walker as well. That gap's now down to just over 5 seconds, as another half a second got taken out there. Vince Peters, though, with now the championship leader on the back of him, what can he do? As he bunny hops over that second curb. And I tell you what, the pro drivers really attack that second curb compared to the AMs and pro-ams.
They absolutely do. They're really starting to try and get whatever they possibly can, see if they can go match the pace of the elite cars. So it's going to require a little bit more time, a little bit more practice, a few months just on the sim, going about the laps, clocking the times here, and looks like Vince Peters is very much now having to start looking in the rear view mirrors. Jari Van Tielen will be looking at this win here, but do not rest on your laurels. The driver who is known for winning, who's already won a race tonight, Edith Baba, is now looking at a second place spot on the podium. The podium is already within his grasp now, as long as he doesn't make any silly errors and and Baba, non-like Baba errors, very much still just trying to search for the gap that can open this up, and you can see how much gravel has got onto the racing circuit. They're just trying to avoid it as well, but it doesn't help when there's 19 Porsches still out on track, just going about and dipping gravel all over the circuit there.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to see how much dirt is being kicked up. But Baba there, just as you said, doesn't make any mistakes. Did run a little bit wide. There's a back marker there they've just got past. That one is absolutely fine this time around, thankfully. I believe that was Mitchell who was the back marker there. Slates with a personal best lap down in 18th place. What could have been for him in this second race. But Peter's now hanging on over the champion or championship leader of that of Barber. And at the minute, Van Tielen is being able to extend his legs a little bit here into the final 5 and a bit laps we go. And Van Tielen just able to do whatever he can do here, because he's got that margin. While Peters can hold Baba and back Baba up, I think he's absolutely got a fantastic show on hand.
He absolutely does. Some of the cars being dealt very well to the drivers, some really using them to great effect, and Vince Peters is very much putting up a defensive shield there towards Aaron Bada, saying, you're not going to get past me very easy there, chump. You may be leading the championship, but I'm not going to allow you to just breeze on past me. Right on board here with Edin Baba, the Belgian, who is very much running at a very good pace here. He's going to try and potentially look up the inside to smell the exhaust fumes of the number 45 there. He's continuing in towards the right-hander, down a gear, just trying to get the power down now, and just use every single ounce of road and more, it seems like, if they head their way into chicane once again.
Yeah, they do. Clays has got ahead of... I'm not sure what has happened to Clays there, because he got ahead of Strand and Verstraeten and ends up back behind Strand and Verstraeten and Slates now. So Steve Clays has had a moment somewhere. Verstraeten and Strand now having a little battle for 16th place. That was a kiss of the rear bumper if I've ever seen one. And Slates looking to try and capitalise through the dirt on the circuit, up the inside into turn 2 on that of Strand here then, apologies, as they come through 3 now, trying to take Steve Clays with him in towards 4. He'll have that inside line. Clays may want to follow him through. Strand, though, holding it tight, forced onto the gravel, somehow keeps the momentum through it and manages to come down back ahead of Slates. Now here comes Clays. It could all be tears out the exit of the first chicane, and they all go through line of stern. Great run from Slate, so not too bumpy this time, up and over the brow of the hill. Can he keep it side by side into the second chicane with that of Clays? He's just got enough of a car there. Full send he goes, and a great move up the inside. Lovely stuff between the 4 of them.
Trying to do it as quietly as possible, but I'm just applauding that absolutely superb send there. Steve Clays here. Let's have a look at the replay here. Down in towards the final chicane, the Jackie Gibbs chicane, I believe it's called. Bit of contact there, and it's Steve Clays just taking evasive action to just avoid any form of extra contact that is made, and that makes him get a poor run. And then it looks like we're going to get we're going to go back to the live action here, because there is James Sates. But now we look back at Vince Peters, a big old leap over the chicane there, and they try and close in here on Yeti Dantilen. Of course, it's going at a steady pace here with Peters and Baba trying to potentially go to a little pod here towards the rear of the number 214. So I wonder if this is not over yet, but we're still closing into those last couple of laps.
They have gained on Van Tielen, haven't they? The gap was over 2 seconds 2 laps ago. It's now down to 1.3 between Van Tielen and that of Peters, and he's bringing Barber with him. Votter has lost all pace. He's just not stuck with the top 3 since the back marker got in the way down at turn 1 a few laps ago. As Machado is now leaving the pit lane. I believe that was the back marker who was involved. He's on pit exit as the leaders are coming through, so hopefully this time he is able to stay out the way and manage to let the leaders through. But it's Barber on the back of Peters, and what a time to set a fastest lap of the race. Now, only 2/10 quicker than Peters, but he's got to find a way through because there's 3 laps to go in this race, and he'll want to try and close down Van Tielen here in it then, as Herbino and Hammer set personal best laps. Andrews has managed to just put a second between himself and Van Luke. That'll be crucial for that Pro-Am podium position then. Romano sitting in 3rd place in Pro-Am. England is your leader in Am from De Bova and Bouts in second and third, down in 13th and 14th overall in this race. And again, Peters and Barber lift off through that first chicane. They were really not afraid to attack that corner. And Peters, did he just get a bit of a slowdown as Barber gets through relatively easy up and over the brow of the hill? I think Peters was too greedy on the curb, and that's allowed Barber through. 1.8 seconds with 2 and a bit laps left to go.
Absolutely, that was a bit of an unfortunate moment there. We'll have a replay there of Vince Peters. Let's have a look into towards the chicane, through the left, through the right, and yeah, I think that was a little bit too much there toward the right. He moves over because that's when the slowdown penalty will apply. You'll flash on his screen, and he just decided to let Edith Baba through because, of course, it wouldn't have cost him anything. Of course, he's going to go down to third anyway. Oh, that is going to be Matthew Collin, unfortunately, there. Oh, no. The 993 losing it through the chicane. It's going to be an unfortunate turn of events there, down in P12, but still looking on for a half-decent result, albeit the spin.
Yeah, he had the spin, didn't he, in race 1, and that's what put him down the back of the order. A spin now as well. So interesting to see. It was a shame for him as he was gaining on Walker for an extra place there. Van Look, actually some 6/10 quicker than Andrews on that final lap in the lead of Pro-Am, 7th and 8th overall. So could we have a little fight at the end of this race for the lead of Pro-Am? But it's Van Thielen 1.5 clear of Aaron Barber at the moment. I don't think Barber's got that much in the locker to get past him, and I'm really really interested to see what Barber can do. But this fight in Pro-Am could be an absolute special one now, as not the best of exits from the first chicane there for Andrews. And is he just starting to feel the pressure?
There's still a little bit of potential. I think he's just definitely holding a little bit of pressure underneath that right boot. Potentially, I felt pressure before in at a virtual event, and trust me, it is not nice. I think he's a little bit more relaxed than I was. It's Luke Andrews, and of course he's been in these positions before. But of course, it wasn't like my situation where I have a now Formula 1 driver sitting behind my shoulder. Jari Van Thielen now in towards the final lap on the white flag as he headed away on toward the first corner. Fastest lap there from Vince Peters, a 29.5. Abba just closing into the lead there, eating into it, 1.1 seconds. But for Van Thielen, that feels like a world away. You just need to keep it on the road to make sure this victory is secure. Meanwhile, Luke Andrews hold that position. Will Van Luke try and search for a gap? Doesn't seem like he can do it up the inside of turn number 2. He's going to be thinking, where can I do this? Where can I do this? I think there's only one place it's going to be. It is going to be that hairpin. Michael Van Luke, number 16. Oh, running a bit wide there, and he's going to slow down his speed just that little bit. It doesn't seem to affect him too much, but in towards that first chicane, let's see if he can get a run down in towards this part of the corner. Oh, it's going to be a tough one.
Late into the pit lane, not sure why, and let's not forget Van Luke did it on the last lap, last time out to take the 3rd place, and this is De Boer with Steve Clays and Strand and Verstraeten all involved in this little squabble as they're 3 wide coming through turn 2 and into turn 3 now. Verstraeten sat in the middle. They all managed to navigate themselves through that corner as Van Thielen now within 8/10 has got Barber within 8/10 of him. This could be a tight end here as Strand looking every way he can to try and get past. Van Thielen, though, is approaching the final part of the circuit and wins this race from Erin Barber. Vince Peters will be in 3rd place. Felix Votter 4th from Herbino to take the line in P5. Hammer will be P6, and it is going to be Luke Andrews to hang on in there for the Pro-Am win over that of Mizo Van Look. There then in 2nd place. Romano will be P3 in that Pro-Am category. And we've now got England, who is going to be P10 overall. Great drive from him. And he will also be winner in the AM class. Walker will come home to take P11. But look at this fight. Boots at the front of it with De Boer. This is for 2nd and 3rd potentially in the AM category. And it is going to be Boots here who is coming through with the final chicane to take P2. In the class, Dirk Boots here will be P2, De Boer P3 in, and Matt Strand 15 overall with Verstraeten 16th, Clay 17th. Slates will be 18th place. He's just got left to finish. There is your in England few celebratory donuts there, but what an end to this season. What an end to the championship. There was battles throughout everywhere you looked in that final race. Adam, pleasure to have you with us for this final race of the season. That was an absolute belter.
Absolutely, it was a superb race from the practice session all the way to the final lap of the checker flag of race 2 here. But Jenti van Tielen will take the second race victory, but it's going to be our main star of the night, Edith Baba, who will take the championship as well. And he will keep the number 1 on his car. A fantastic fight there with Felix Votter, but Votter just didn't have the same pace to match Edin Baba this evening. There is your final results of race 2. Jenti van Tielen will be your winner, 7/10 ahead of Edin Baba, with Vince Peters joining the podium with Felix Votter, Christoph Herbinite, Philip Hammer. Then we find 7th overall, but the first in the Pro-Am, Luke Andrews ahead of Maliko and Luke, and Luis Romano will complete the podium there. Then we find the end of the top 10, the start of the amateurs. Joran Engelen for the Vortex team ahead of Ryan Walker, who made his way from the back of the grid. Up to 11th, the Scotsman, super work from him. Matthew Collin, followed by Dirk Bounce, then Navarro de Boerva, and Matt Strand. Ellie Verstraeten there in P16 by Steve Clates, James Slates on Michaud. And of course we lost Michael Machaud, Yanni Patapera, George Tyler, and Jens Bersot, of course, did not make the flag. But that was the end there of our Simwear.eu Porsche Cup, and a super way to end it. What a location to end it in Zolder. And of course, Matthew, it's been a pleasure to have you alongside me as well. Thank you so much for taking me on.
No, absolute pleasure to have you with us. We can speak with a few of the drivers in the waiting room. We will speak with your champion and race winner in the first race tonight. Aaron Barber joins us in the commentary box. Good evening. Congratulations, first of all, on the championship, and what a night's worth of racing.
Hi guys, good evening. Yeah, thank you. It was really interesting race here on Zolder. But I'm really happy with the result, and also with the championship. Yeah, pretty happy with it.
Race 2, obviously the top 8 reversed, you coming from 8th place, was a little chaotic, wasn't it, at the start? Obviously a bit of drama behind you that you managed to avoid. It looked like you just kept yourself out of trouble and waited for the race to come to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a big advantage in points, so I was just chilling behind, seeing how the race would unfold. And then, yeah, after like a few laps, the guys ahead started to make some mistakes, and I was able to capitalize on it. Only shame it was Felix that got taken out by a back marker. I think he lost the position. So, but yeah, this is older, you will have back markers here anyway. So yeah, but pretty happy with it. Yeah.
Just talk us through that night. Talk us through that moment, should I say, with the back marker and Felix Votter. What was going through your mind at that stage?
Yeah, I saw the back marker like 2 times already, so I knew maybe he's new to the game, or I don't know, or new to the track, no idea. But he was like, I thought he would give the position to everyone, but then he went onto the racing line, and for sure I didn't want to be on the outside on turn 1 because you never know. So I just waited for them, and then yeah, they went wide, both of them, and then I was able to take the inside. Yeah.
Brilliant season from yourself. Lastly, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
You guys, and also everyone in the league, and also the team Grid and Go esports. This is my first event with them, so yeah, I hope this is the first of many. I'm really happy with the team. Nice guys, some really fast guys. I think the fastest on the service. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and also you guys for broadcasting. I know I was not around or after every race for the interviews, but yeah, sometimes it's like a little bit difficult after the race to give interviews and such. But yeah, in the end, I'm really happy to be here. So.
Well, congratulations, Aaron, on a brilliant season. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, guys. Bye. See you next season. Ciao.
And we have got race winner Adam. If we bring in the race winner of race 2, Van Tielen, I'll let you take this one.
Absolutely, Yetil. Absolutely brilliant there from you. Of course, a really strong second race. Kind of go through the start phase first of all.
I knew Zolder was going to be really important to get the start right in the feature race. So I really focused on that, and then it was just about picking the right line in lap 1. And I think I managed that quite good. Up onto the chicane, that was a little oopsie. But yeah, for the rest, I knew it was just picking them off one by one. Because the top 4 guys in the sprint race had a little bit of a pace difference compared to the rest of the field. So I knew once I got in front that it would be pretty difficult for the rest to overtake. Because Zolder isn't the easiest track to overtake. And so yeah, just took the lead and yeah, just drove it out basically.
Yeah, until there was a lot of carnage on that first lap. How do you deal with kind of maneuvering your way through all of that?
And I think I was just in front of the carnage, so for me it was quite easily. But yeah, you always have to look a couple of rows ahead in Porsche Cup. You just know that they're going to be carnage because of the standing start, and it's really difficult to get a good start. So yeah, you just need to place your car really well.
And of course, coming across the line after a fantastic race, you must be so relieved with that, taking the last win of the season.
Yeah, I had quite a difficult start of the season, and then it's always nice to close off a season like this. Also, my first year I really doing iRacing competitively, so quite happy with the pace I've got right now. So we will keep improving, I hope.
And finally, who's there anyone you want to shout out? There's so many people behind this.
First of all, you guys for organizing and broadcasting this event, and the nice league, and also Team Alpha Esports for providing setups and yeah, just being a really good team and really helping me to understand iRacing. So yeah, I think that's it.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. Go and enjoy your win, and we'll see you next season.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll bring in, just before we speak with Felix Votter, we'll get a word with our Pro-Am winner of this second race. Luke Andrews joins us in the booth now. Luke, congratulations on that second race. It was hard work, wasn't it, starting on the front row of the grid?
Yeah, very much so. I think that's the second race this season that I've been lucky enough to get to the front on the reverse grid, but obviously with the calibre of drivers in the top class behind you like that, it's always really difficult, and you kind of have to choose what you want to fight and what you don't. Yeah, so I kind of fought a little bit to start with to see if I thought I had the pace to hold some people off, but I quite quickly realised that I didn't and started kind of letting them through a little bit. But yeah, you just got to pick your battles, haven't you, I think, with that.
Yeah, that's it. It was an interesting race. It seemed like that Van Luck was the guy sort of keeping with the back of the pro category while you was in the middle of fighting him. He was right with you, wasn't he, towards the end?
Yeah, he seems to have a habit of, if he messes up race 1, he seems to always come through in race 2. And as I started to get to the back of the top guys, I saw him on the relative and that he was there. So I was trying to kind of not lose too much time with Hammer and let him get too close, but in the end it didn't really work out that way, so I had to fight him. But it was fun to fight him at the end. I did enjoy the battle we had.
Been a pretty good season for yourself. Any highlights really from it this year?
I think probably the podium overall at Hockenheim. I think I was really pleased with that one. I got a bit lucky with that one, the way that the race turned out, but it still was a good result to get in this field, so I was really happy with that one, I think.
Do you think that it could be a chance of maybe making your way up into that pro category for next season?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think so, but it's obviously a bit of a reality check when you are racing with them, like how quick they are, and there's still a bit of time for me to find. But yeah, I mean, it's been a good season, and it's a shame that I had to miss one race because it would have been nice to challenge Van Luck for the title. But I mean, well done to him. Like, he's had a really good season and he's been quick everywhere. So I think it's well deserved for him.
Finally tonight, there was a bit of a drama with one of the back markers. Did you notice anything? Sort of, it involved Felix Votter. I don't know if the back marker had returned to the pit lane by the time you'd got round to him. Was there any dramas for yourself as you was coming round?
Not really that I saw, no. I was pretty focused, to be honest, and I wasn't looking too far ahead at what that pack were doing. But yeah, I to be honest, I didn't really notice that personally. No.
Finally, anybody you'd like to thank tonight?
Yeah, just the Cube Controls team and my teammates, George and Matt. We've had a really good season this season, I think, and thanks to Nick and the guys running this league, it's been probably one of the best Porsche Cup leagues I've driven in this season. So it's hats off to them. It's been really good, and yeah, thanks to you guys for the broadcast as well. It's been great.
An absolute pleasure. Well, Luke Andrews, congratulations on the race 2 win. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
And Adam, we've got Felix Votter waiting. I'll let you take the final one.
Felix, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Felix, a strong start to the, a strong end to the season for you, but of course it wasn't quite the results you would have wanted.
Not really, no. I noticed this is definitely not my most favorite track. I was hoping to be a little bit better today, but it didn't work out. Well, at the end, it's still a P2 in this season, so it's fine. I guess I take it.
Of course, you say it wasn't quite your strong track. What wasn't working today?
I don't know. It was kind of I was not getting in the flow with this track. Like the chicane, the first chicane coming up there, almost killed me several times. Like I was looking to the sun or something like that. And yeah, it was just hard getting on pace. In the end, the second race was pretty messy, but Van Thielen just held on to a great pace there in front, and I couldn't keep up. I was hoping I could keep up behind him, but that also didn't work out.
Of course, you can be very proud of yourself, I think, Felix. So what are the plans potentially for maybe later on this year or for maybe next season of this championship?
I don't know. I guess I definitely want to get closer to Aaron. Aaron has such a great pace, and he is so often not really reachable, which is crazy. So I'm hoping next season I can fight with him a lot more than what happened this season. And I hope I get tracks that fit me a little bit better, and then we'll see.
Finally, who do you want to thank? You have the spotlight here on this one.
Definitely Aaron and Vince. The fights have been crazy this season. It was amazing. It was enjoyable a lot. So I definitely want to thank them, and I want to thank you guys for the broadcast and everything. It's amazing.
Felix, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best.
Thanks. Have a great night.
And it looks like that is everybody we have to speak to today. We'd like to thank once again the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup and all the sponsors that have been involved with this season, as well as Adam for joining me in the box and the commentators who have brought you this event throughout the season. Samuli, who has been here tonight bringing you all the action and the replays, as always, bringing us the fantastic shots that you guys enjoy so much. Adam, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
No, it's been a pleasure for you to take me on. About half an hour before our broadcast started, I didn't even know this was going to be on my agenda. So very much a last minute, but you can never say no to some Porsche Cup action. It's incredibly fun. It's so enjoyable to cover stuff with Apex Racing TV, cover any form of Porsche Cup, and I would love to do even more broadcasts. So hopefully I will be a name that's a little bit more frequent when it comes to the ARTV broadcasts. But Matt, it's been a pleasure to have you alongside me. Thank you for kind of keeping me company through this one.
No, you're absolutely welcome. It's been a pleasure to have you in the commentary box. It's been a pleasure to bring you the Simwear.eu Porsche Cup season. But that is all we have time for this championship this season, and I'm sure to be back later in the year. Remember, you can join us for any Apex Racing TV action all week long. Just join us live on YouTube throughout the week. I'll be back, though, in a few weeks' time with another Porsche Cup live on Sunday evening. That is the Danny Lee one with myself and Alexa Marshall. For that in a couple of weeks' time. Apart from then, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.